So this is the new Nokia N900, the MIMO 5 powered device, which was announced last week. And this is the first time I've had my hands on it, about 5 minutes ago. So this is really initial impressions. And this is quite a heavy device, but the hardware feels really solid. This is a sort of, we talk about the E series like build quality, and that's what this has. And before we look at it in detail, just comparing some of the other devices, this is the 810 tablet. You can see how much smaller it is. So it's much more like a phone. If you get something like, I don't know, I think I've got the N97 in this other pocket. These are the two sort of N series flagships, and they're, different design. I actually think the N97 design here is sort of slightly more elegant, but you've got the same full QWERTY keyboard and the 5-megapixel camera on the back. Both have the 32 gigabytes of internal memory, but they take a very different approach in software, which we'll look at in a minute. But actually, the device that this reminds me most of, in some ways, is the Nokia E75. I have in this pocket, and you can see it's actually about the same size. It's actually slightly bigger in terms of width, but in terms of the keyboard size it's better. But the big difference here, having just played with the keyboard for a few minutes, it's a much nicer keyboard than the E75, much better sort of travel on the keys, and also better tactile feedback when you're typing. So I reckon you get much faster input with it, despite the fact the keys are a little bit smaller and it's only a 3-line keyboard. Some people aren't going to like that. I think you get used to it after a while. And of course, this is just a very initial impression. So should we take a look at some of the software bits?
Let's do it.
So here we can see sort of the home screen of the device. I think one of the things that stands out immediately is the MIMO branding and the OVI branding sort of front and centre. And this panoramic desktop, you can sort of drag your finger across and get multiple desktops, all of which are customisable with shortcuts and widgets. You can see things here for flicker, for making a phone call. That brings up the dial. So this is the basic desktop of the N900 device, and compared to so S60, MIMO has a much more computing-like feel. I mean, the way they're describing it simply is that it's a computer-like device, but in a mobile device. And you see that in things like this desktop, which is, it has the same widgets as S60, but it's the panoramic mode where it goes over 4 different screens here. You can see everything from, shortcuts to flicker, application shortcuts. You've got the phone here. If I press that, that brings up the dialer. Typical phone, you can make cellular calls or VoIP calls. Going back to the desktop here, one of the things that's interesting is to see the MIMO branding front and centre, and also the OVI branding. So those two are obviously very critical in this device. Going back to sort of the PC-like experience, if you press the thing here, you get the sort of multitasking, which you do get in other devices, but it's much more explicitly PC-like, the sort of the Alt-Tab approach or the Exposé approach. You can see, you just tap on one of these to bring up the application. I mean, one of the things that's impressed me already about the N900 is for a prototype device, this is pretty speedy, and I think that's thanks to the ARM A8 Cortex architecture that's in the processor. And you've got the usual sharing icons, but this is very much, as you can see here, even with me doing it, it's a two-handed device. The web browser, it's based on Firefox, it's actually Fennec, I believe, and this has very similar code, around 80% to Firefox, which gives an outstanding browsing experience. I've just had a quick go. Connection isn't very fast here, but it does seem to render very well, and the big screen that we've got here, wide VGA, is very helpful in that regard. You've also got some interesting things here like conversations. This isn't set up, this device, but you can see already we've got things like SIP, Jabber, Google Talk, Skype, as well as the OVI by Nokia, reflecting Nokia's kind of agnostic attitude towards these things. If you click that button again, you see the very familiar sort of S60 style icons. They're not actually S60 style, that's the Nokia iconography, which they use right across their range of devices and services. But there's things like conversations here that allows you to do IM and SMS based chat conversations, and all the other things you'd expect on these devices. You've got the PDF reader, some free games as well. One thing that's I think worth pointing out here is Xterminal. This is a Linux-based device after all, and so for the hackers amongst people, or people who really want to get into the nuts and bolts of the device, I think that sort of thing's really interesting to see. As I said before, there's a lot in this device that we don't know about yet, but my initial impressions have been, very positive. It is, very sleek, it's a very fast device. So, also we've just talked about the software. Going back to the hardware, it has the 5-megapixel camera on the back here. It's also, this is a nice feature. It has the desk stand, which means you can sit it on a desk just like that. And you can see this is in the closed mode. If you open up the camera, you know, it's a typical slide, and people will be pleased to know there seems to be space between the camera and the slide, so no lens scratching. The double LED flash, which again is the same generation as in the N86, so that should provide pretty good performance. The actual camera module, I believe, is the same as the N97, and you can see here, there's, you know, you can take a shot. I'll close that. You can got your shutter on the bottom. Where you go, take the picture. It does the processing of the image. This will be a bit slow, it's a prototype device. You then got the icons down the side here, so you know, you press the share icon, and you know, so that's the capture settings in the camera. Very similar in some ways to the we've seen in previous N-series devices. I'll take another picture. You should see again, as I say, the share icons come up here, which let you send this off, and you can see this is the UI again, the sort of typical button-based interface. You know, really, this is a two-handed device. And at a stretch, you could use this one-handed, but you'll notice if I do that, it's not rotating. There are that remains to be seen. Need to explore the device some more.
Goes all about Symbian on it.
I'm not sure there's a SIM card in here. So.
Will it go on Wi-Fi? I mean, Nokia will maybe.
Okay, yeah, that should do.
Have you got an AAS style domain? You know, like a short one?
Not yet. Yeah, I'm not sure that's going to work. Okay, well that's a bit of it, yeah, so I better hand this off to someone.